Alrighty, good evening, everybody. I'm Ryan alongside Caleb, Michigan Storm Chasers. We are going to go over the week ahead. This is our Monday night weekly live stream, which we do every Monday evening. It was every Sunday evening, but we moved it to Monday. And every Monday night at 7 p.m., we're on here on YouTube and Facebook to talk about the upcoming week of weather. So we have a few days to talk about, but overall, nothing major going on. But we're going to cover the main thing here is rain, perhaps a storm chance for tomorrow. So let's go ahead and dive right on in. Pop out the chat here, shout you guys out. Ashley, Cindy, Kim, got Jazz, Alan. What's up, everybody? Good to see you guys in here with us on this Monday, beautiful Monday evening. So let's go ahead and dive right on in. So starting with the current radar here, looking at the current situation, we have some rain showers across much of the state. They're just isolated in nature, nothing too heavy right now. But overnight tonight, that will start to increase into Tuesday. Looking at the future forecast model, we're going to see a bulk or a good chunk of heavy rain. They're moving in from the West Michigan, Northeast through northern lower Michigan as we get toward that 4 to 5 a.m. hour. That will overspread much of the lower peninsula minus the southeast half. Notice Detroit over here is staying nice and dry through this time period, all the way over to basically Jackson to Detroit and points up to Port Huron. You guys are staying dry. But further north, you guys are in a good moderate to heavy rain for a few hours there as we get to sunrise on Tuesday morning. That rain continues in toward the noon hour before there's a brief break here that's expected right around that 3 to 4 p.m. time frame for the northern lower Michigan. But then rain starts to pick up again for the UP as we get closer to the afternoon hours on Tuesday. Notice how southeast Michigan continues to stay dry. So going this into Tuesday night, we have another round coming in that could spark some thunderstorms later on Tuesday. Now, looking at the overall SPC outlook, we do have a couple of things to discuss with you guys. For tomorrow, we do have the general thunderstorm risk in light green color. That is for the west and northern half of lower Michigan and all of the UP. But notice how there is a marginal risk across the lake in Wisconsin. That is your level 1 out of 5 severe risk, not for Michigan, but it's close to the UP. We're going to watch it. We could try to sneak perhaps a stronger wind gust in. Not going to say it's a very high likelihood at all. In fact, I'd say the probability is probably less than 5% at this point. So I don't think it's much of anything to worry about for us here in Michigan. But in the event that it does become an issue, we'll talk about it. We'll cover it. We'll be here if need be. But looking at the future forecast in terms of your radar, we are seeing something or seeing a little bit of perhaps of a line take shape. We kind of notice it here. It's hard to pick out, but some stronger cells try to take shape here along the cold front with this line of storms. It's going to be the one to watch here later on Tuesday evening. As we get closer to the midnight hour on Tuesday, that rain will push across the state. It'll push out of here by sunrise Wednesday, but with that comes cooler temperatures as a cold front will be pushing through the state. So we're going to drop from the upper 60s and low 70s down probably into the 40s and 50s for your Wednesday. So expect a temperature drop as well. I think another thing to talk about for tomorrow is it will be windy. So if you're going to be out voting and line voting, expect a little bit on the warmer side. First, diving into temperatures here for tomorrow. Here's your temperatures. Temperatures are across the state in the 60s. And if you're in southeast Michigan where there's no rain, you're going to be close to probably low to mid 70s, perhaps touching 75 in spots across Detroit, Adrian, Monroe, Ann Arbor, up toward Port Huron. So you guys are going to be lucky tomorrow. But further north and further west, mid to upper 60s. If you're in the UP, you're looking at mid to upper 40s, perhaps a 50 spot further east towards Mackinac. That's your temperature forecast. Now, in terms of your wind, another thing to keep an eye on is your wind tomorrow. This is your wind map. The blues are about 10 to 20 miles an hour. You get purples, that's 30 to 40 miles an hour. We're seeing that purple color in Michigan here to start the day around sunrise, 9, 10 a.m. or so. Winds will pick up from the south. They'll work north. Gusts up to 40 to 45 miles per hour are likely. Sustained winds roughly 10 to 20 miles an hour across much of the lower peninsula. Wind advisories may be needed. There are none in effect currently, but we'll see if they issue some for the overnight package at 3 o'clock in the morning. They'll come out then, or perhaps for the mid-morning package, NWS issues right around that 9, 10 o'clock time frame. If those do get issued, we'll let you guys know. But otherwise, expect windy conditions regardless of any advisories being issued, much like we had on Halloween, kind of like a repeat day for a lot of us. Some will get rain, will stay clear, but it'll be warm, mild, but just windy. Okay. That is your election day forecast. Let's go ahead and move forward into Wednesday. Wednesday will be on the drier side of things. Go ahead and click on the model here. Here is your cold front swinging through Wednesday around midnight. As we get closer to Wednesday morning and sunrise, we're seeing wind off into Ontario and Ohio, leaving us pretty much dry the entire day. Now, jump forward into the GFS model. We're going to be looking at a pretty dry end of your week. So here's Wednesday, here's Thursday. We're continuing to stay dry here, and here's Friday. And then as we get toward that weekend, Saturday, Sunday, a low pressure system develops off to our west. That'll give us renewed chances for rain. Not sure exactly where or how much just yet, but we're going to have a system moving in for the weekend time frame to keep an eye on for that Saturday, Sunday period. So keep an eye on that. That could give us renewed chances for warmer temperatures, more rain, perhaps some storms as well. We'll keep you guys updated. We're still a long ways out from that. We're not going to get too in depth with that. All right. As we go, and wow, I can't talk tonight. As we look at temperatures, we're looking at the European model based out of Lansing. The next 2 days here will be the warmest, 72 spot there in Lansing for tomorrow. Wednesday, 68. We drop back off into the mid 50s there for Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That low pressure system works up, brings up renewed chances of warmer temperatures, 62 there, 59, 61 for your Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. We're dropping back off to a more average type of temperature. So overall, above average week, more rain than usual. We'll take every bit. Speaking of rain and taking every bit, we are in a drought still. The drought conditions here across the entire USA continue. Every single state has abnormally dry conditions or worse. There's not one state that does not have a designation on this map here, but specifically for Michigan here, nothing really has changed in terms of the drought. Much of the UP in a severe drought. Northern lower starting to get in a severe drought. Further south there across eastern and southern Michigan, we are still abnormally dry in that yellow zone there, but around it we are in a moderate to severe drought. Anywhere from Grand Rapids down to Kalamazoo over to Flint, you guys, we're just dry everywhere at this point. There's just no getting around it. So hopefully after this a couple of days here of rain, further north should get most of, not all, but probably most of this drought taken care of, at least we think, just because overall accumulation of rain about 1 to 2, maybe 3 inches in spots. So that should give us enough rain to kind of bust this drought out for portions of northern Michigan. Otherwise, that is going to be continuing onward into the next update here, which is Thursday for your updated drought monitor. So keep an eye on that. Overall, long-term forecast, 8 to 14-day outlook continues to trend above average in terms of temperatures. The entire eastern half of the U.S. is above average. The western half is below average. That's going to be for November 12th through the 18th. Looking at precipitation, we continue to remain above average. I did not want that map. I wanted the other one, this one. Above average in terms of precipitation for pretty much the entire U.S. minus the far northeast coast, Florida, and then California there as well, getting in on near normal. So overall trend with this current pattern is above average in temperatures and above average in precipitation for us here in Michigan and also the Midwest, much of the eastern United States in general. Speaking of which, the active pattern continues. It looks to continue into mid-November. We had a video out a couple days ago about that, so if you want to check it out, feel free. Overall, grid pattern, we're going to be nice and warm, but also rainy here, typical fall in Michigan. I think I covered it all. I will say the average temperature here across the state for the month of November ranges between about 44 degrees further north, and as you go further south, it kind of raises toward 50. So 44 to 49 exactly. Detroit, I believe, is 49. Flint is 48. I want to say Lansing is 48. Grand Rapids is 48. But further north toward Gaylord, you're looking at 46, 45. Then up in the UP toward Marquette, you're getting closer to the low 40s, 42, 43. So that's your average temperature here throughout November. So anything above those temperatures is considered above average. So just because we're above average in terms of these warmer colors does not always mean we're going to be 70s, 80s. So keep that in mind. Last thing I'll touch on here is the WPC forecast. We continue to be in a marginal and a slight risk for excessive rainfall. That is due to all the rain we're expecting overnight tonight into tomorrow. So northern Michigan there having the best chance up there by Grand Rapids, Ludington up toward the, go ahead and say edging the Mount Pleasant area. There in yellow has the best potential for some excessive rainfall. Now, even though we are dry, yes, that is true. But soil temperatures here, soil percolation rate should absorb most of this, but also if we get too much rain in a short amount of time, it's not going to absorb well into dry soil. So that's where we get some runoff and other conditions to lead to flooding. So that's why you have that marginal and slight risk for flooding in place. I think I covered it all. One more thing I can touch on here is the expected rainfall totals here through tomorrow. This is your HRRR model. That's why we have this slight risk up there. 1 to 3+ inches there in red for Grand Rapids up toward, let's see, you're looking at, man, I'm drawing a blank.
Saginaw.
Over towards Saginaw there, points northward down to Kalamazoo, points northward. But I'm looking at that heaviest swath there from Kent County, perhaps south there toward Wayland, Allegan, up north toward, I'm trying to think what's north of Kent County. I can't, I'm drawing a blank here. Let me get a map up here. I'm sorry, guys. Looking at Fremont, Canadian Lakes, Big Rapids, that area. Big Rapids is the city I wanted to talk about. But overall, that's going to be your heaviest swath. Okay? With that being said, we're going to hop in chat here to answer you guys' questions. But first, before we do that, I see Red Dozer back with a $20 super chat. Thank you, Red, as always. Appreciate your support of the channel.
Yep, and as always, we need to give a shout out to Cat's Roofing and Siding out of Lansing, Michigan. Give them a call at 517-485-9886. Tell them we sent you over there. They'll be happy to hear from you. They do all your roofing, siding needs, and surrounding areas outside Lansing, Michigan.
And also, yeah, thank you to Cats for that.
Right, winds will mainly be out of the southwest tomorrow. After the cold front comes through tomorrow night, they'll likely switch out of the west-northwest. That'll be late tomorrow night. But for the majority of the day, they'll be out of the south-southwest, similar to how they were today.
Hey, Rocker, I can't talk today. So you can't spell, I can't talk. We're on the same page.
It's a time change. It messes with you.
It does feel later.
Yeah, what's the percentage of rain tomorrow? Well, it depends on where you're at. But really 100% across much of the lower peninsula, with the exception of far southeast lower Michigan, Detroit. Less of a percentage there tonight and tomorrow. Tonight, you'll be mostly dry across Detroit. Tomorrow, as the cold front comes through, we'll see a line of showers along the cold front tomorrow. But most of southeast Michigan will be on the lighter end of things tonight through tomorrow. We do expect some thunderstorms. So as you guys go to sleep tonight, don't be surprised to hear some rumbles of thunder, especially across, if you draw a line from Holland to, let's say, Saginaw. We expect some very heavy showers and perhaps some thunderstorms to kind of train across that line there across central lower Michigan. Some rainfall rates could be heavy at times and upwards of an inch an hour. So do keep that in mind. We don't expect flooding to be a big issue. However, if you guys do live in a metropolitan area and have street drains, now is a really good time to go outside and make sure you have no leaves over those drains. That'll help prevent urban ponding and street flooding. Though we don't expect a lot of river flooding with this event, urban ponding and flooding is possible, if not likely, if those drains are covered with leaves and other debris. So now is a good time to go out and check those out if we have not had a lot of rain here in the last few weeks, and thus those drains might be covered by a lot of the leaves that have fallen over the past week and a half.
That's a really good point there.
So now's a good time to go out and check that out, as it's not heavily raining at the moment here.
So, Katie, in terms of that stronger line, we're thinking Wisconsin has the best chance of that. This is your outlook for tomorrow. Yeah. There's a small chance northwestern Michigan gets that, but overall, it's not very good.
It's a highly conditional chance for Wisconsin. We may see nothing in Wisconsin tomorrow. It's highly dependent on how everything evolves. Yeah. Again, it's really hard to get ingredients this far north this time of year. We look at the slim factor. We have to have wind shear, which we have a lot of that. We have to look at instability. That's something that we don't know how much we're going to have in Wisconsin. That's a big question mark with instability. We have lift. Yes, we have a surface area of low pressure and a passing cold front. That's going to be our lifting mechanism. So we have a lot of lift. moisture. We have an abundance of moisture. We have plenty of moisture. So really the one thing we don't have is instability. And that's often the case this late in the season. Instability is hard to get up here. So that's why it's a highly conditional risk. Just we don't know how much instability we're going to get to in play here. You can see a narrow swath of instability trying to rebuild there. Really depends on how much sunlight we're going to see. That'll help some instability from the surface. Daytime heating, that'll help get that air rising a little bit. But again, it's highly conditional.
No, nothing severe for Kalamazoo tonight. They're not expecting severe weather in Michigan in general.
Nope.
Just general thunderstorms.
Yep. Heavy rain.
Is there going to be snow on the backside? Cindy Quill asked. I'm going to say not this time. No, we're too warm for that this time around.
Yep. We'll see some wind on the backside, but that's about it. No snow this time.
Yeah, you're good down there, Katie. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
We're probably not going to see much in the way of any rain here on the southeast side. So.
Nope. Again, probably the best chance for those thunderstorms if you draw a line from Grand Rapids to Saginaw and parts northward. Yep. That'll be your best bet where those are going to set up. So if you guys
that's on your map here too. If you're in the light green areas in Michigan here, that's where the best chance through tonight and also tomorrow where everything's going to set up at.
Yep.
When can we expect our first snow in lower southeast Michigan?
That's a loaded question.
That is a loaded question. So there's nothing imminent. Looking at the long term, the first half and perhaps the first part of the last half, like the first 5, like the 15th to the 20th, is trending well above average in terms of temperatures. So in terms of any snowfall, I'm going to say November is looking pretty unlikely unless something happens toward the last half of the month. We just don't know yet. Overall, I think we're going to be looking at a little bit more mild start to the winter into December. I'm going to probably say a late season snowfall, probably mid to late December, if not into January for a lot of us. So I don't think it's imminent. We have a video out for the winter outlook. If you guys want to take a peek at that in term, not like month by month, but like overall thoughts on that. If you go over to our YouTube page, click on videos and scroll back like 4 or 5 videos, you'll find it. It's titled Winter Outlook. It's about a 10-minute video. We kind of go a little bit more in depth into what we kind of expect to happen this winter. So that's always there for you guys' viewing pleasures if you want to.
Yep.
And also just a quick plug, we have a video dropping on Wednesday evening of the 14 tornadoes of Michigan this year that we've had. We're going to rank them from least impactful to most impactful. It's already out for members. But if you are public who are not subscribed or not a member of the YouTube, that will be out publicly Wednesday at noon. So take a peek at that if you would like to watch.
Yeah. So guessing it's not very likely for a white Christmas, says Jazz. Well, it's too early to tell yet. We'll know more on that as we get closer into December and see how the month as a whole is going to trend. But in terms of first snowfall, not looking very likely for the month of November. We're going to be trending well above average here this month. So
if we were a month forward, say instead of November 4th, we were like December 4th, I would say the chances at this point are quite low, but we still got 2 months to get to this. So let's all evolve a little bit. Patterns and stuff can change. The models that far out could say, hey, it's going to be well above average. Then tomorrow you load the models up. Well, what happened? We're now below average. So when you get past that 3 to 4 week time frame, that's when the seasonal models start kind of dropping off in terms of their accuracy.
Yep, just not a lot of data available that far out. Any other questions you guys have? They can be about the rainfall coming over the next 2 days, week outlooks, or other general questions you guys may have. Feel free to put them down in the chat. We'll be happy to answer them for you here this evening.
I will pop this in to kind of answer Jass's question. This is what we call temperature anomalies. This is a long-term forecast. So the brown, red colors you see here are warmer than average, and the blues and greens are below average. So this is a pretty long-term model here. We kind of run this through. This is the last half of November. Here's November 20th or so. We're seeing that above average temperatures here are going to stay around the Midwest here. And now we're into the first half of December. This pattern does not want to go away. But again, as we get closer to that December timeframe, that's when accuracy drops off. So right now, models are saying above average into December, but we'll have to see if that trends that way or if it starts switching back and forth. But right now, it's trending warmer. Yep. Offhand, Cyndaquil, that takes some time to go dig into. I'm not going to be able to answer that question here. If you're really curious, message us. We'll get that information for you. It's a little bit more in-depth stuff to kind of dig out. So it also depends on where you're at because data is recorded in many places. You got Flint, you got Detroit, you got Lansing, you got Grand Rapids, Gaylord. So it depends on, what office and what area you want to get the information from because it's different for each. Ice storms, we're not going to know about ice storms until we get, much later in the winter. Like we're not going to know that kind of stuff until like 3 days away from it,
Yeah.
I think that there's definitely a chance we could get some mixed bag systems where you could have rain on the north side or rain on the south side, still on the north side of these systems sometimes. We had a lot of those last year. We could see a few of those this year. But freezing rain really comes down to like nitty gritty details that can't be sorted out until you get like the day before.
So. Yep. We have to have a good interpretation of what our temperature profiles are doing above the ground. We have to have them in a certain order and depth to allow freezing rain to occur. So really detail-oriented forecast at that point in time. Opening day deer season, I assume you mean rifle on the 15th. We're still about 10 days out from that, so we'll have a better idea next week as to how that's going to trend. So hopefully it's a cold morning for you and the deer are moving for you, but right now we're a little ways out and we'll have a better idea come closer.
I see Judah asked a question here about late season severe. So honestly, Judah, we've had chances. Tomorrow will be another chance. We're not expecting severe weather, but we've had also Halloween. We had these deeper low pressure systems that draw warm, moist air up, but we just haven't had enough instability to spark anything. So we're getting our chances, so to speak, but we're just not getting all the ingredients together. So I think after tomorrow, we have probably one or two more chances on the models at least. We're looking toward that November 11th timeframe, and again November 17th timeframe. Some models try to bring a system through, but again, it's going to depend heavily on how much instability we can build because we get that low pressure system, it draws those warm temperatures up, but without instability, we're just going to get rain. So that's honestly fine by us. We don't want to see severe, but we're in the heart of our chances right now. So we're definitely closing the window as we get closer and closer to winter.
Yeah. Not impossible for another severe weather day, but they're becoming harder and harder for the atmosphere to achieve. So,
yep. Where do you get the shirt? I'm assuming my shirt. You can grab it at helicity.co. The link is actually on your screen right now. There's a tab on there, Michigan Storm Chasers, and that's where you can find it.
All right. Any other questions you guys have? In November?
Judah, you're thinking November 17th, Judah, back in 2013. That was our last high risk, and that was in November. So, yes.
Yep. Yeah, severe weather late season is not impossible. That was a great day of how everything came together. It's very hard to get those ingredients to come together just because everything has to come together in just the right way, and that was one of those days. A lot of times as we get late in the fall, we have these what we call loaded systems where they have a lot of wind shear, they have a lot of spin, they have a lot of speed and changes with height as you go up in the atmosphere. That allows the atmosphere to become very turbulent, a lot of spinning. There's just a lot of motion, a lot of kinetics going on up there. But what we don't have in the fall is instability. We don't really have a lot of energy or oomph to get those storms up and going to tap into that wind shear available. That's really hard for the atmosphere to achieve this time of year. One, because our sun angle is lower, our days are shorter, and all of our heat, a lot of times in the fall, originates from the Gulf of Mexico. So all that moisture and heat has to get transported north versus in the late springtime and summertime, it's already here. But in the fall, it's not here. We have to transport it here. And getting all that here at just the right time and amount is very hard to do. So that's why in the fall, it's harder to get severe weather events. Are they impossible? No, they can happen, and they have happened, and they'll continue to happen again. It's just harder and harder to get those events the later you are in fall. But severe weather can technically occur any time of year in the state of Michigan. Look at this year in February. Our first tornado was in February, and it was a rather strong tornado for Michigan. And and that occurred in February, a very early system.
We had two of
Very
them
similar
actually.
to the systems we have in fall, where you have a lot of shear, but if you get a little bit of instability, they're called low cape, high shear days. You can get severe weather. It's just really hard to get this time of year, but they can happen.
Is this winter worth buying snow pants? What is the chance of having a fun winter? So glad you asked that question. Now it's really it's impossible to get exact amounts of snow, especially if you're lake effect prone areas or not.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
this winter, we're forecasting here at MSC, we're thinking about average snowfall. So in Detroit, that's about 40 or so inches. On the west side, between about 40 and 80 inches. Up north, you're anywhere from 150 to 300 inches. So depending on where you're at in Michigan, about average. Um, so I would say yes. I think this winter would be worth buying your snow pants, but we may have to be waiting into January for our first bigger snowfall the way it's trending right now. So we'll see if that continues. We could be trending warm for quite a while, so nothing imminent, but I'd say this year does have a chance to be definitely uh, on average, if not above average in terms of snowfall.
yep.
And again, winter outlooks are super hard to really pinpoint, especially for the end, like the later January and February parts just yet, because that's 3 months away. It's hard to get a handle on things, but overall patterns and trends we're seeing suggest
Yeah.
above average or average to above average. There is no severe weather for Michigan for tonight or tomorrow. The map we had up is for Wisconsin tomorrow. We were talking about a potential over there for some gusty winds. Over here in Michigan, we could see a line of storms try to develop, but again, we're not really thinking it's going to really amount to much. If it does, perhaps some brief non-severe gusty winds. That's going to be up toward like the Gaylord, Mount Pleasant areas and points northward later on tomorrow night. But overnight tonight and tomorrow, some thunderstorms are possible for a majority of the state, especially further north there, north of Mount Pleasant, especially.
Yeah, your biggest risk with any of these thunderstorms are the rainfall, just heavy rainfall rates tonight into tomorrow, just because we have a lot of moisture in the atmosphere right now. These thunderstorms are going to be very heavy. Here, the SPC or the Weather Prediction Center's outlook here for excessive rainfall. The state of Michigan is in a marginal risk for the majority of the LP, except portions of southeast lower Michigan. And there's even a slight risk that extends from Holland almost to Gaylord, just southeast or southwest of Gaylord there in south of Traverse City. And that is a slight risk for excessive rainfall. And really what this means is just a favored area for those heavier thunderstorms to set up that can produce the heavier rainfall amounts that may lead to ponding or road flooding and etc. Now, river flooding, we touched on this earlier, but we don't think is going to be a big issue. And the reason for that is our soils are very dry. Here in Michigan, we have a lot of sandy soils. With that being said, they have an ability to absorb water very quickly. And our soils are very dry, very deep. So the percolation rates, or how fast that ground can absorb the water, is very high. So we do expect those percolation rates to be very high, coupled with our rivers. Our rivers are fairly low right now. So they have a lot of water holding capacity. That'll help prevent a lot of flooding issues that we otherwise would have been talking about if our soils were wetter than what they are. So flooding, not really a big issue. However, if you have or live in an urban area, I would highly encourage you to check your street drains. Make sure they are not obscured by leaves or other fallen debris that have blown off the trees over the past few weeks. We've been windy. A lot of those leaves have come down. So if you are in a city where you have leaf pickup, make sure your leaf piles are away from the street drains to allow that water to drain properly. Otherwise, you could see some urban ponding and street flooding tonight, especially.
So a strong storm, KJ, would be anything under 58 miles per hour or less than 1 inch hail. Those are usually like statements they issue between we'll say dime size to, or they start at pea size really, pea size to
Peas to
nickel
nickels.
size hail,
Yeah.
and then winds 30 to 58 miles per hour. That's what it's considered a strong storm.
Yeah, it doesn't really hit severe criteria until your winds are 58 mile an hour or stronger. Generally, you'll see a 60 mile an hour tag on the warning, or quarter size hail or greater. That's 1 inch. Tomorrow, we're not seeing anything close to that. maybe some gusty showers if a stronger storm or two does develop. But right now, mainly heavy rain, lightning. That's probably the biggest risk tonight through tomorrow. If snow doesn't start until January, does it make it more likely to persist longer into the springtime, like one of those years we're still getting snowstorms by the end of April? Well, maybe. Yes and no, not necessarily. Like I said, we're so far out when we get into the January, February timeframe. Climate models don't really have a good interpretation of what those months look like yet. We won't know until we get closer to the end of winter to know that. But historically, though, and climatically speaking, we have been trending warmer earlier and colder later. We've had some colder springs here, and that is a historical fact. Whether that continues this year, it's yet to be seen. But bottom line is we're going to see snow this winter. It's just a matter of fact of when and how much. And when we say, near average, the 40s, 60 inches of snow, that's not all at once. That's throughout the entire, 3 to 4 months of winter. But it could trend above average. It really only takes 1 to 2 big storms to really sway the odds in your favor one way or the other. It's just whether or not we get everything to come together for those big snowstorms to align. Will we see some bigger systems? Yeah, I think we will. Will we see some smaller ones? Absolutely. All it comes down to is, where's that rain snow line? How much moisture do we have? And what are our temperatures doing? Every winter we get, 1 to 2 or 3, maybe more bigger snowstorms. Every winter is a little bit different, and we'll just have to see how this one evolves. So, but right now temperatures right around average, maybe just slightly above average. And average temperatures in January, for instance, are right around freezing, right around 32 degrees, ranging from 28 to 32. So when we say above average, we're in the 30s. Is that cold enough for snow? Absolutely. So we'll just have to see how it trends when those systems arrive, just to see what ingredients we have. Yeah, hopefully we'll get a white Christmas. We won't know until we get a lot closer, 1 to 2 weeks out. We'll have a better idea of how Christmas is trending. But until then, fingers crossed. I'm hoping for one too. So any other questions you guys have here tonight? Again, thank you guys for joining us here on this Monday night. I know it feels like 8:30, but it's only 7:30. As our internal clocks are still trying to adjust from what happened on Sunday. But again, thank you guys for joining us. It's a pleasure being on here for you guys. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in chat. We love reading those. Have any comments, concerns, put those down there. We'll be happy to answer them for you if we can. Yeah, I know. I don't like it getting dark early. It's just 'tis the season, but we are about a month and a half away from when it's going to start getting lighter. So December 20th is winter solstice, I believe. So, or maybe the 21st. But after that point, we'll be getting lighter. So we're close. We're close. We just got to get through another month and a half.
Yeah, sunset is right around 5:30 out there. So we made a couple posts on the page. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Now you're here at 5 p.m. Yeah, that's where that came from. So
yep, and now that is stuck in everyone's heads. So thank you, Ryan.
You are welcome. What are the slim ingredients of snowstorms? Cold weather, moisture, and a source of lift.
Essentially that. Those are the two most important ingredients. One, what are our temperatures doing? And what are our moisture profiles doing? Snowstorms are very complicated in terms of snow forecasts. Snow forecasts, you spend probably 5 to 10 times more time, or the amount of time, computing a snow forecast than you do a warm weather forecast. And a lot of that has to do with ratios. There's so much more math involved in winter forecasting than there is warm weather forecasting, just because a degree or two difference in temperature can be a completely different forecast for your zone. And a lot of that has to do with just because warmer air holds more water versus colder air does not. So if you have a lot of moisture in a really cold environment, that's called frontogenesis, where you have moisture that overrides a warm front. Basically, like, let's say you fill a barrel, but you can only fill it as much as its limiting factor. Let's say you have a slat a little bit lower and it's overflowing. That's what warm fronts do in the wintertime. That moisture's got to go somewhere, and it comes down to snow. But your temperatures can make a big difference on how much snow that is. And it's not a very big area, too. Sometimes we're talking 10 miles, a difference of 5 inches or more. So winter forecasting is very complex just because of the moisture profiles and temperature profiles. A lot of math and a lot of ratios, but it can also be pretty fun, too.
It is very fun. I was just going to bring up when Caleb said at the start about putting more time and effort into this.
Yeah.
Last year's forecasting here at MSC, usually the forecasts are made by myself or Joel, or now Caleb, since he's on board with us now. But when we did our snow forecast, it takes us usually about 30 or so minutes to whip up a forecast for severe. Winter forecasting, it probably took us 2.5 hours just to crunch all the data and make sure we get our forecast right. We're going to do the exact same thing this year. We're going to sit in front of these models. We're going to look at trends, look at real-time data. And honestly, for those of you who follow the page for our winter information, we're probably not going to be the first to release our forecast, but we're always going to try to be the most accurate. So even if we release it 12 hours later than everybody else, we're trying to be as accurate as possible.
It's not because we're hiding something from you or we know something that we don't want to tell you. It's because there's still more data to be analyzed, and it takes a lot more time to analyze that data in the wintertime. Just because we don't strive for swiftness, we strive for accuracy, and it just takes a little bit more time to get that accuracy. And sometimes it means having a forecast done, and then the next model run shows something completely different, and you have to throw that forecast away. I mean, that's just what happens in the wintertime. There's so many variables that are not set in stone, and they're evolving. So these forecasts are evolving, and that goes for our winter outlook too. Winter forecasting, nobody really looks forward. Nobody asks for, hey, what's the summer outlook going to be? Am I going to have my pool open till October? Not very many people say that, but everyone wants to know how much snow are we going to get on such and such dates. And that's such a lucrative forecast just because it's an ever evolving forecast. There's so many moving parts and so much mechanics that are involved in winter forecasting that it takes so much time to put together. It also makes it fun, but it also makes it a challenge too. And as soon as that data becomes available, we'll try to have that available for you as well. So. All right. Any other questions you guys have here before we sign out for the night? A quick recap. I'll go into that here with you guys. So tonight, our next round of rain moves into the state overnight tonight, especially after midnight. Don't be surprised early morning you wake up to a rumble of thunder or two, especially if you draw a line from Holland to Saginaw and points northwestward. That's where the heaviest rain will be. Rainfall rates could be in excess of a half inch, 3/4, if not an inch an hour. So do keep that in mind. Heavy rainfall rates tonight. Perhaps a few embedded thunderstorms. No severe weather tonight whatsoever. Risks with these thunderstorms, heavy rain, some lightning, just general ordinary thunderstorms. So let the thunder rock you to sleep. No severe weather tonight. As we move into the day tomorrow, that round will slowly move out before the cold front moves in late tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. We'll have additional chances for rain, maybe an isolated embedded thunderstorm in there too. Again, severe weather is not likely. However, a few wind gusts may mix down in some stronger showers. The closest severe weather risk right now is Wisconsin. The SPC has a 1 out of 5 risk, or marginal risk there for gusty winds, and a conditional risk for a brief spin-up tornado. However, that is highly conditional, and again, not likely widespread at all. So are we looking at tornadoes in Michigan? Absolutely not, at least not at this time. So severe weather, not likely. However, we will keep an eye on a stronger storm or two, mainly in the northern half of the state, if that does develop, but right now it is unlikely. So just general ordinary cell thunderstorms, heavy rain, lightning is the biggest risk. Rainfall totals, though, as we move in through Wednesday, the central portions of lower Michigan may see additional 1 to 2 inches of rain, with some areas picking up close to 3, especially across the western half of the state, from, let's say, Barron County all the way up to just south of Traverse City. That's where the heaviest band of rain and thunderstorms look to develop tonight. Is what we call training, where those showers and thunderstorms move over the same areas And again, that's been really the track of this whole storm system over the past day or so, too. Just that general vicinity there. So do expect a round of thunderstorms tonight through tomorrow, bringing in an additional 1 to 2 inches of rain. After that, we clear out with dry conditions moving into your Wednesday evening and some cooler air as well. And one other note to mention, it's going to be windy tomorrow, just like today, a little bit windier tomorrow. Sustained winds out of the south-southwest, 15 to 25 miles per hour. You may see a little bit of a break tomorrow evening before that cold front sweeps through, but winds will quickly pick up tomorrow night along and just after that cold front. Winds tomorrow could gust out of the west-southwest, close to 30 to 35 miles per hour, maybe a few instances of 40 to 45 in there too. Just some isolated pockets of those stronger wind gusts. So do have your loose objects tied down. Any patio furniture, make sure those cushions are brought inside if you are prone to wind gusts down your backyard. And have your trash cans in a reachable spot as well. Your neighbor doesn't want to pick up your trash. So do have those managed as well. So other than that, that is your recap. If you have any other questions that you guys wanted to ask, go back in the earlier part of the video. And if you guys have any questions here real quick, we'll try to answer them here over the next few minutes.
Yeah, definitely put your Halloween decorations away. They're going to blow away if not.
If they're inflatable, yeah, deflate them and bring them inside.
If the inflatables will be in Lake Erie by the time this one's over.
Lake Erie or Canada.
Janelle, Thursday, Friday, good nights for viewing for stargazing and aurora chasing. Yeah, I'd say so. Better chances for clear skies, and also the meteor shower that peaks between now and the 12th of November. The torrids, both north and southern torrids, will be active between now. The peak is actually for the southern, I want to say tonight. Or no, northern is tonight, southern is the 12th. But when they overlap here next couple of days, we'll have better chances of meteors. So through the 12th, look around up in the sky. If you have clear skies, you may see a couple meteors.
Yep.
But yeah, that's the best chance for clear skies.
Yep, and the moonlight won't be an issue right now. We're just coming out of a new moon right now, and then our next full moon will be on the 15th of the month. That'll be our super beaver moon. I don't know why. I just like saying super beaver. But that'll be our next super moon and our last super moon of 4. We had a series of 4 here. This will be the last super moon of that series and the last super moon of this year. So the moon will appear much larger than normal, just as it has the last 4 times. So something to look forward to coming up as well. All right. With that being said, guys, thank you guys so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to be able to be on here with you guys, hanging out with you guys every Monday night during football season. Just so much fun talking about the forecast, catching up. If you guys have any questions, put them in here real quick. We'll try to answer them here before we jet out of here. But again, I just want to say thank you guys for joining us. It means a lot to us. And it's a privilege to be able to be on here for you guys. Yeah, I agree. That does look good on you, Ryan.
I like the orange.
It's a good color.
I actually got this color because one of our partner chasers, Chris Tobias, had a hoodie in orange. I'm like, I gotta get myself one of those. There you go.
A bit of chaser envy there.
Yep. All right, guys, we're gonna pop out of here. We'll see you guys planning on Wednesday for our podcast. So we'll see you guys planning on at that point. And then again for next Monday here, 7 p.m. on YouTube and Facebook for our weekly live stream. All right, you guys stay safe. Stay warm tomorrow if you're staying in line to vote. We'll see you guys Wednesday.